in all recorded history competing for jobs. Then we've got globalization. That's not good enough. You're all competing against the robots and AI. So that backdrop is, and in a massive credit bubble. So that backdrop is wildly disinflationary. Your wages, your income has remained static while the cost of assets has gone up. So you're actually poorer. What is that? Why? What is an asset? An asset is delayed consumption. You put your money into the asset, and in 20 years' time, you sell the asset and you spend the money. Right? That's the point of owning assets. They're delayed consumption. My big picture take on CPI inflation is almost impossible to make it go up. We have the baby boom generation, who are now 70, and they're all retiring, so their consumption pattern falls significantly. And we've just seen over the last year the largest wave of retirees in all recorded history. And those people, once they retire, spend less money because actually their pot of final savings is not that big. But the ones that are still in the labor force are competing with their kids, the millennials. So you've got the two largest cohorts in all recorded history competing for jobs. Then we've got globalization. So if it's not bad enough competing against your parents, you're competing against Chinese and Indians. And if that's not good enough, you're all competing against the robots and AI. So that backdrop is, and in a massive credit bubble. So that backdrop is wildly disinflationary. The relentless rise of technology is hugely disinflationary. So can you generate CPI inflation? I don't think you can. You can't generate it in food because technology just destroys it, because crop yields keep going up, price of food keeps falling. You can't do it in basic stuff like clothing and furniture, none of that stuff, because technology keeps changing. You 3D print tables and chairs now, it requires no humans. You can do it just-in-time technology, need no inventory. And this is relentless. The only three things that went up over periods of time. One was housing, which we're aware of.
Another asset, of course.
Yeah, but rents have gone up as well. So
right.
that's not been easy. Healthcare. Well, no shit, Sherlock. If you've got 76 million baby boomers at 70 years old, they're competing for healthcare. So the costs go up, and that will continue. The other one was education, but that's collapsed, the rate of inflation, because the entire millennial cohort has now left university. Pretty much. I think they're all out now. So I think it's Gen Z in university. So the cost, the marginal consumption of education has gone down. So I find it very hard to see this. Now, are you going to be able to keep the price of copper and industrial materials high? Copper, maybe because of the electricity boom that's coming. But overall technology lowers the price of copper. You can extract more copper. We saw that with fracking and oil. That's technology. That's how technology stops price rises. That's probably the best example in the world is, you cannot keep the price of oil higher because technology keeps dropping it lower. So no, I don't believe in CPI. Look at the whole macro world. But one after the other, they're all seeing the superior returns and a solution for the set of macro problems. So macro guys generally tend to be pretty pragmatic. We've got a set of problems, solutions, what's going to make money, allocate capital accordingly. But everybody's going, well, this is the biggest opportunity we've ever seen, because everybody starts on the Bitcoin journey and ends up having the holy shit moment that everything is about to change. And I'm sure we'll talk about a lot of that later. So I think macro and crypto have merged. What you're seeing now is you're seeing a lot of noise from the latecomers to macro. People who only know either the latecomers from macro or the ones that have been around very long and are anchored to gold and certain kind of mean reverting ideas. What you're seeing is a fear of change. So the noise that you're getting at the periphery, the Peter Schiffs of this world, for example, is not that Peter Schiff doesn't understand that crypto is the future. It's that he doesn't want it to be.
I mean, you're kind of saying, and then in my mind, I sort of thought, well, the next 10 years might play out and some of that asset price inflation might sort of seep into CPI and become, more pernicious. But you're saying like the next 10 years might actually turn out to be similar to the previous 10 years. We just get some increasing asset price inflation even more.
The truth is, wages in real terms in the United States have not gone up since 1974 in any meaningful way. So they've underperformed almost everything. So what that means is your wages, your income has remained static while the cost of assets has gone up. So you're actually poorer. What is that? Why? What is an asset? An asset is delayed consumption. You put your money into the asset, and in 20 years' time, you sell the asset and you spend the money. Right? That's the point of owning assets. They're delayed consumption. What it means is your future self has now got a lot poorer because this stuff keeps going up faster than your wages. This is the real dramatic problem. That equation of can you get wages up to create demand push inflation? No. Can certain cohorts' wages go up? Sure. But overall, you can't, because everybody in Silicon Valley's job is to drive costs lower. And it's a really dramatic situation. This creates a huge amount of anxiety, social anxiety. People don't know why they're getting screwed, but they're getting screwed. And it's not just the Fed raising asset prices. It's actually the fault is of the silent generation who had too many kids after World War II. That's, if you want to blame somebody, and World War II was a feature of World War I because they didn't pay they refused to allow the Germans to forgive their debts. So it's a long story of how we got here, but it's not going to change.
We're all paying for the sins of our fathers, I guess, probably while committing new sins without knowing it, that future generations
that's right.
will reap.
You don't know the law of unintended consequences. I mean, nobody thought that this is what would happen. Is after the euphoria of World War II, 70 years later, you'd create a massive collapse in growth, which has happened in Europe, Japan, everywhere else that had post-World War II economies. They all did the same. The others are slightly older because they had a lower rate of immigration than the United States did. And what happened was they all started, their economies started slowing down faster than the US.